Welcome, everybody. It's your old pal Taint Peter here, and today I'm going to give you a quick 5-minute review of a Metroidvania game that just came out called The Last Faith. I've put some good time into this game. If you look at the game's save file, it says about 37, 38 hours. If you look at Steam, it tells me more like I'm in the 20s. I don't know what the hell that's all about, but it doesn't matter. I've put some hours into this game either way. I love Metroidvania games. I think they're extremely fucking fun. They're one of my favorite things. I love the way that you explore. I love the way that you unlock traversal. I love the different weapons. I love the different spells. These games are always a good time. So let's talk about how The Last Faith approaches it and get right down to brass tacks. Okay, so The Last Faith is basically trying to be Bloodborne in Metroidvania form. I think that's literally their stated goal. My understanding is that this was a Kickstarter game that got off the ground, and I have to say, pretty impressive if that's the humble origins of this game. It feels and looks like a pretty polished Metroidvania in the pixel art style. Obviously, it's not reinventing the wheel with the design of how everything looks. It is very much like, hey, let's just take Bloodborne and make it 2D. Castlevania is already kind of in that world, so this genre is sort of like, you know, used to that look and feel. It's a well-worn road, but a one that usually leads to success, and I think The Last Faith does that here. Enemy variety is really good. Actually, I'm pretty impressed by how many different enemies there are in this game. All the different areas and zones in this enormous sprawling map look and feel different from one another. So I would say overall, the design and the look and the feel is really good. I think they went for something specific and they nailed it. Let's talk a little bit about the weapons in combat. There are a lot of different weapons in this game. However, they're a little bit tedious to upgrade. Unless I'm missing something here, it's kind of a pain in the ass to get any of them up to plus 10. I'm only doing it with a whip, and I have no interest in trying to go and farm enough material to do it with another weapon, even though there are other weapons I am curious about trying. So it just feels a little bit restricting in that regard. It would be more fun to play with more of these things. The magic, great magic system. You can do lots of elemental stuff, right? There's like the classic fire, electricity, freezing. And then of course there's another type of magic, which is really more like traps, guns, you know, that has the typical Bloodborne pistol, like blunderbuss. And so you can kind of dive more into the technical trap setting, gun firing type of special ability, or you could do what I'm doing and be more like magic. Both of them seem to work pretty well. Let's talk a little bit about just like mechanics of the game and difficulty level and how it feels to actually play. So this game, when it's firing on all cylinders, is really good. There are some seriously fun moments to be had in this. Really good bosses here and there that I had a wonderful time trying to learn to overcome. But I will say there's some balance issues, particularly with a certain boss you get to at maybe some point, like mid-game, where you are just not leveled for this dude at all. Even if you play the game linearly all the way up to where you are to get to that boss, you feel like you are drastically underleveled. And so then you have to go back and like farm levels and get experience and do it for a good amount of time in order to actually go fight this dude. And to me, that feels like fucking stupid, honestly. Like, why would I play all the way up here only to not be ready for it and have to go back and replay a bunch of stuff that I already did? I know I'm not the only one with that complaint. I've seen it, you know, on like Reddit and social media looking up this game. That is a huge complaint. The other thing is, for all the fun that this game has with its combat and all the cool systems, it feels stiff. And particularly the movement and sort of traversal stuff. Like, it doesn't feel fluid. It doesn't feel natural. It doesn't feel like something like Blasphemous, which it's hard not to compare this game to, feels, where you have like real good control over your character. Similarly, the traversal puzzles in this are really janky and difficult. The quote-unquote parkour to get around the area just doesn't feel good. It feels kind of just clunky and obnoxious, and sometimes you're trying to reach a place like with a jump and grab a ledge and you just can't seem to get it done, and it's like making you wonder, am I actually supposed to be able to get to that? And if you try it for another 2 minutes, yeah, you can get there, which tells me it's the controls. They're just not dialed in the way that we'd like to see them in a game like this. However, it's not so bad that the game's not fun. Again, like, we're beating some difficult bosses, still having to use those controls. It's doable. It's just something that I think would have been a nice final layer of polish on top of this game that would have made it better. That said, I think the whole thing feels very handcrafted lovingly by the people that made it. Everything is so well thought out and designed, and it just looks so cool. I feel like a lot of love was poured into it, and that does kind of come through when you're playing it. It doesn't feel like a cheap, rushed piece of shit game, which sometimes these can, honestly. Which leads us to about the 5 minute mark, which means it's time to render a verdict. I'm going to be honest, I kind of struggled with this one. There's moments in this game where I'm frustrated and I feel like there's some jank going on, and I want to give it a 7 and say, fix it, it's not fully there yet. But then for the most part, I have to say there's so much passion behind it, and it's so lovingly put together, and overall extremely fun, that I have to say it's more like an 8. And so I kind of have to make this call, and in my heart, my little needle is putting itself somewhere between a 7.5 and an 8, but because of the clear love that went into this game, I'm going to round it up to 8. It just feels good. It doesn't feel like a piece of shit somebody made just to make a quick buck. It feels like someone really wanted to make this game the best it could be, and even though it's not totally there yet and I have some problems with it, I'm going to round it up to an 8 for that reason. It is a fun game, and as frustrated as I get, I step away from it for a couple days and come back and wind up having a good time again. So look, if you're into Metroidvanias, if you're really into Bloodborne and just need something to scratch that itch and don't care if it's a 2D version, I'd say this game is for you. Pick it up. It's not that expensive. I think 30 bucks full price, and you could even wait for a sale. If you're somebody who's very cautious with their money and really wants the most polished version of a game possible before they buy, I don't know, hold off a couple months, maybe even hold off a year, come back and get it on sale when there's been a couple patches. Maybe they'll be able to fix some of these things I have a problem with, although I have a feeling it's kind of just the way the game is. So make of that what you will. Overall, I really enjoyed this game, and I can definitely give it a thumbs up. This is Taint Peter. I hope you enjoyed my very quick and abbreviated review of The Last Faith. See you next time. If you enjoyed this review, do your old buddy Taint Peter a favor and go ahead and click like. If you really enjoyed this review, why don't you go ahead and head to my channel and subscribe as well, and you'll find way more bullshit just like this coming out all the time. Thanks.